Re-
Yes, good evening, my dear students. Again, warmly welcome for the last part of lesson 7, emotion. Actually, we have already discussed what is meant by emotion, and as well as according to Paul Ekman, we have identified 6 important emotions. So, under each emotions, I explained the expression under each emotion, as well as I have shown you a video. So, how we should express emotion to the other, because in order to have very good relationships we have to control our emotion. We should help other people to control their emotion as well. So now I'm going to discuss with you 5 reasons why emotion basically I will be discussing the 3 components of emotion. So actually, in order to understand emotion, because it is essential to understand the 3 critical components of feeling of emotion. So actually, when we talk about emotion, there are 3 types. First one is subjective experience. That means how you experience the emotion. That is the cognitive part, as well as then physiological, how your body react to the emotion. Then after expressive component, how you behave in response to that emotion as well. So basically, how you experience the emotion mean like simply it says most of the people, most of the organizations, most of the people try to define that it's like subjective experience being definitely in order to get an emotion we have to expose to a situation. So therefore, different scholars have acknowledged that basically there are 6 emotions can be experienced by a person on this earth, like such as I told you earlier: happiness, anger, sadness, disgust, etc. So therefore, simply the experience is required, situation is required to get to experience an emotion. How you experience the emotion is really important, and the physiological component explain how your body react to that emotion. Let's say when you anger, sometimes you may shivering. When you happy, sometimes your eyes are wrinkly. Okay, sometimes when you anger, your muscles become red. So those are the physiologically how your body react to that emotion is really important. So I don't know whether you can remember when I'm explaining the facial expression, especially under each emotion, I explain how the body has react. That means physical responses. Okay, so simply the facial expression as well as body language coming under physiological component, simply how the body react to the particular emotion. Then the other one is expressive component. So how you behave in response to that emotion. Simply how you express that emotion to the other also really matter. Okay, let's say sometime because of sad, people are crying. Sometimes because of the happiness emotion, people are dancing. So therefore, those physical responses that mean with the way the people try to express their emotion may be totally different one from one person to another. So write down subjective component or a so some books says it's cognitive component. Simply how we experience, how that emotion come to our mind also really matter. Okay, so subjective experience, or another word you can use, cognitive component, subjective component slash right, cognitive component. Please write down under it. People on this earth, people on this earth experience experience emotion in different ways. In different ways. According to Paul Ekman, according to Paul Ekman, there are 6 types of emotion. There are 6 types of emotion, such as fear, disgust, anger, such as fear, disgust, anger, surprise, happiness, and sadness. But the way people perceive, or experience the emotion within bracket such as happiness, close the bracket, within bracket such as happiness, close the bracket, in different manner. The subjective experience, in different manner, the subjective experience will vary from one person to another, will vary from one person to another, will vary from one person to another, according to their cognitive differences. According to their cognitive differences. Let's say a collection of people have caught accused for a fault. Let's say in an organization, when a group of people, group of employees accused for a bad performance. So during that time, what they feel is like they may feel anger or sad, or sometimes they may experience fear, because now the supervisor has accused them not to perform as expected. So the obvious emotion that we are expecting, that the normal emotion what we are expecting from them is fear. But let's say there are 7 employees in that group, but even though fear should be created in them, but 7 people are not equally experience fear. Some people in that bunch may not take into account as well. Who cares? Some people may be angry. Some people may be sad. Some people may be fear. So the level of fear may be vary from one person to another. So even though they have exposed to same situation, but the level of fear of among 7 of them will totally different from one person to another. It's subjective. That's why basically it depends on the cognitive aspect, how the particular person perceive, how the particular person think about that situation. So that's why we are telling, even though the experience is similar, but the way the level that they are experiencing that emotion is totally different from one person to another. Then the second one is physiological component. Okay, so physiological component. This component explain the physical differences created as a result of this emotion. Screaming happen because of surprise. Screaming can kaya gahana. Screaming happen because of surprise. Oh, example. Screaming happen because of surprise. Sweating or turning red. Here, sweating or turning red happens because of anger. Sweating and turning red. Sweating and turning red happen because of anger. Because of anger. Vomiting happens because of disgust. Vomiting happen because of disgust. Vomiting happen because of disgust. Because vomiting happen because of disgust. Rapid breathing happen because of fear. Example, rapid breathing here. Rapid breathing happen because of fear. Those are the example for physiological responses. Third one is, third component is behavioral component. We call it as behavioral or expressive responses. Behavioral or expressive responses. Behavioral or expressive responses. Another word you can write for this is behavioral component or expressive component. How you behave in response to the emotion, it's really important. So let's say the first one is how you how you experience that emotion. Then after, your physical changes happen as a result of the emotion. Third one is how you behave in front of the others in response to that emotion. How you behave in response to the emotion in front of the other. You can write down how you behave in response to the emotion in front of the other. So further write down under expressive component, different emotions can be displayed. Different emotions can be displayed in different ways. Example, laughing or smiling because of happiness. Laughing or smiling because of happiness. Laughing and smiling is your expressive component, okay? Behavioral component. Laughing or smiling because of happiness. Laughing or smiling because of happiness. Laughing or smiling because of happiness. And crying because of sadness. Crying is the behavior. Crying because of sadness. Okay? Crying because of sadness. But please do remember, my dear student, this expressive component, that means this behavioral component totally based on the person's, like simply they are, it based on their emotional intelligence. I'll be discussing what is meant by emotional intelligence later, my dear student. Emotional intelligence is like, yeah, there are 5 important parts of emotional intelligence. First one is you aware about your emotion very correctly, then you take necessary action to control yourself. It is the second step. First one is, there are 5 important parts of emotional intelligence. First one is you aware about your emotion. Second one is you the second one is you okay. Then the other one is okay. Then the other one is what you do is then the other one is first one is you aware about your emotion. Second one is because since you are really aware about your what emotion you are experiencing, then you take necessary action to control them. Third one is you try to understand others emotion. And fourth step is you try to help other person to control their emotion. And finally, having a very good relationship with all people. So if you are emotionally intelligent, first you should be able to aware your emotion. You should be able to control your emotion. Thirdly, you should be able to understand others' emotion, as well as you should help other person to control their emotion. It is really needed. So let's say now, when we talk about basically why I explain emotional intelligence, my dear student, when we are focusing on this expressive component, actually we have to we have that means that basically the expressive component based on the emotional intelligence of, if you are really aware about your emotion, if you can control your emotion properly, and if you can understand other person's emotion, as well as if you can take necessary action to help other person to control their emotion, then it's perfectly okay, you have really emotionally intelligent. But actually, these expressive component totally based on emotional intelligence, because if you have high emotional intelligence, you can control, you can, that means your behavioral component can be controlled. Let's say if you are really unhappy, sad, normally you are not crying. අපි කියන්නේ අපි දුක හිතුනම අපි අඬන්නේ නැහැ. තරහ ගියම අපි තරහ පෙන්නන්නේ නැහැ. That means that person is have emotional intelligence. That person can control their behavior. So that's why I just want to express that, highlight that point. If you are really intelligent, if you have emotional, if you are emotionally intelligent person, if you are rich with emotional intelligence, you actually you can control your behavior. Write down this topic. If you are really emotionally intelligent, if you are really emotionally intelligent, if you are really emotionally intelligent, you can nicely control your emotion. You can nicely control your emotion. You can nicely control your emotion and control your behavior. Control your behavior within bracket. Not to cry because of sad. Not to cry because of sad. Not to blame on the other because of anger. Not to blame on the other because of anger. Close the bracket. Full stop. Okay, then let's move. I'll show you a small video on these three components. It's like a 5 minutes video, not a very lengthy video. It nicely explains the three components of emotion, like cognitive, behavioral, as well as physiological.
Okay, let's get into how it is that we respond to the world around us. So typically what we're talking about is emotion, and we're going to walk through the three main components of what makes up emotion. So emotion is made up of three main components. The first being the physiological component, or how does your body react to a stressor? The second is a behavioral component, or our action in response to that stressor. And third is the cognitive component, or mentally, how is it that we react to that stressor? So collectively, these three together will create the emotion that we impart. So the first component we're going to look at is physiological arousal. Physiological arousal refers to how it is that your body's internal state changes in response to that stressor. So when you think of arousal, a lot of times you might think of, say, sexual arousal. But what we're talking about here is a larger umbrella term looking at the physiological arousal. Now, sexual arousal would fall underneath that, but we're talking about things as well as that. The second are the behavioral reactions to emotion, which includes how we express our behavior. And then finally, the cognitive aspect involves how we're going to interpret the situation that's in front of us. Those three together.
In here, cognitive mean what we have discussed before, like subjective experience, how we try to interpret of the situation. Actually, that's why I told you, even though people are experiencing same emotion, the way they interpret of the situation will vary. So that's why I have shown you that example when the set of people have accused because of their low performance. But some people are really fear because they accepted their mistake. But some people say they did not take into account in a very serious manner because they interpret that situation. It is a normal thing in the work life. Okay, so therefore, even though they're exposed to same experience, the way they interpret the situation is totally different. So therefore, cognitive mean like subjective experience, then behavioral reaction I have explained under behavioral or expressive component, crying because of sad. Physiological arouse being like the body like internal state like shivering because of fear, etc.
Together will shape our emotion. So let's walk through an example for you. So two different scenarios, and we're going to walk through how each component is going to react and respond to that scenario. So scenario number one, you are going for a walk and you decide to take a shortcut through the forest. Now, as you're walking through the forest, you are faced in front of a large, man-eating, brown, hairy bear. Okay, so what's going to happen to you physiologically? Physiologically, you're going to have an increased heart rate. You're going to see an increase in blood pressure. Your breathing might increase. You might start to sweat profusely. Typical reactions to a bear that you might have, right? Behaviorally, what's going to happen? You are going to start swearing, right? I love swearing. I would swear my brains out. You're going to put your arms in the air and you are going to have a complete behavioral meltdown. Cognitively, what's happening in your brain? How are you assessing the situation? Like most people, you're saying, oh my God, this bear is going to kill me. What should I do? And you've heard this term before when you're faced with a situation like that, as you say, my life flashed before my eyes. And that's exactly what happens as you start thinking about all the important things. You think about your childhood, you think about your mother, you think about that little red bike that you wish you had. All of this happens very quickly. And that's your brain interpreting the situation of this man-eating brown hairy bear. Now, you put those collectively, the physiological component, the behavioral component, and the cognitive component, and that's going to equal crying, I'm scared. That is the emotion, fear.
When you're scared, you are crying.
Now, let's take a look at another scenario. You are prepping for the MCAT exam. You write the MCAT exam and you ace your MCAT exam. And now you're so excited. Your mother is so excited for you that she's going to throw you a surprise party. Now, you walk in the door and you open the door and ta-da! Everybody's there screaming and everybody's there. You have your mom, your two friends, your parents, your cousins, and everybody's there to celebrate in your success. Now, physiologically, what's happening? Well, the first thing that's going to happen is increased heart rate, increased blood pressure. Your breathing is going to become more shallow and you have sweating. Now, these look very similar to the physiological response that you had at the bear attack. So there's some commonalities there. Behaviorally, what's going to happen? Same thing. You might start swearing as soon as you walk in. Holy shish kebabs. And you might also have your arms in the air. You might cover your face because you're alarmed, right? So that is some of that arousal that we talked about. And behaviorally, you're reacting to that arousal. Now, what differentiates this scenario with the bear scenario is the fact that cognitively, you're going to interpret the situation a little bit differently. So initially, it might be assessed as a dangerous situation, a lot like the bear for you. But now you realize that your friends are here, your mom is there, you love your mom. And so now you transition into something like, oh, I'm surprised and I'm very excited. And you begin to enjoy in the party that they have for you. Okay, so just to summarize, 3 components, 2 of the 3, so physiological and behavioral, would be the same for the bear attack or the party your mom threw for you. Like cognitively, you see some differences there, and that results in 2 different emotions, fear versus happiness and excitement.
Okay. Okay. So now you know the difference between the 3 components of emotion. It's nicely explained in the shown video as well. Okay. Then we'll be discussing what are the reasons emotions are important. So why we are learning this as a separate subject. So simply emotion can play an essential role in how you think and behave. So the emotion you feel each day can compel you to take action and influence your decision. So simply, as in part 1, I have nicely explained actually why we are learning this as a separate topic, because our emotion govern our behavior. So we are making decision based on our emotion. So therefore, before making decisions, we have to be very careful about what are the emotions we are experiencing right now. So sometimes because of our emotions, the decision that we are making is not appropriate. It is badly damaged our interpersonal relationship. Not only interpersonal relationship, it badly damaged to our physical and mental well-being as well. So therefore, there are few reasons, 5 reasons I have listed here, but don't believe these are the reason in the world. I have given only few, but you are responsible to find more and more. So emotion can motivate you to act. Yes, your action, your behavior governed by your emotion. So therefore, if you know what is the emotion you are experiencing right now, if it is negative, you have to control before the action. And if it is positive, it doesn't matter. You can act without harming the people who have already with you. And emotion help to avoid danger. So when you, as an example, let's say when you experience fear, sometimes you try to run away from that situation. So sometimes when you anger, so when you anger, so when you know that you are feeling angry, then you try to go away from that situation, not to harm other people, or not to pinch other person, or not to defamate other people, and not to damage other people's properties and their thoughts and feelings. So therefore, emotions are really important to avoid danger, such as when you're experiencing fear, angry, and sadness, especially when you're experiencing bad negative emotions. And because emotions are really important for safety and survival. So that's why I told you, when you have seen a very dangerous, when you exposed to very dangerous situation, if you feel that the situation is unsafe, what you try to do is you try to fight or flight. Okay, so most of the time, better to flight, better to go away from that situation, and sometimes fighting may hurt yourself, and it is bad your interpersonal relationship. On the other one is emotion can help you to make decision. So decision making process will be governed by your emotion. So sometimes you may make mad decision or inappropriate decision if you are experiencing negative emotion. So if you are experiencing negative emotion, you have to know what you're experiencing, and you have to control them before making decision. Next one is emotion help others understand you better. So as I very correctly said, your facial expression, body language explain who you are, what emotions you are experiencing. Again, I would like to tell you, when you expose to a situation, your body language, your facial expression nicely describe what is the emotion you are experiencing. Let's say if you are arrogant, if you are very upset, if you are blaming to the others, then others may understand you are feeling anger. Okay, so therefore emotion help other to understand you better. So therefore, if you are experiencing negative emotion, definitely your facial expression, your body language is not appropriate for the situation. So therefore, you have to take necessary action to avoid that situation as much as you can. Then emotion allow you to understand others as well. Not only that, emotion help others to understand you better. On the other hand, emotion allow you to understand others well as well. So if you have emotionally intelligence, if you know your emotion properly, if you can control your emotion, my dear student, then you can understand other person's emotion. That's why I told you there are 5 important parts of emotional intelligence. First one is, I will teach under intelligence lesson in a very deep manner, but just try to get an idea what is emotional intelligence. First, you should aware about your emotion. Second one is you should be able to control your emotion if it is negative. Third one is you should be able to understand others' emotion, and you should help other people to control their emotion. And finally, you are having a very successful relationship or a healthy relationship with them. So emotion allow you to understand other mean if you can understand your emotion properly, then you can control them, and then you can understand other person's emotion as well. ඔබට ඔබගේ හැඟීම් තේරුම් ගන්න බැරි නම් චිත්ත වේග තේරුම් ගන්න බැරි නම් ඒව පාලනය කරගන්න බැරි නම් පුතේ ඔබට අනිත් අයගේ හැඟීම් තේරුම් ගන්නත් බෑ ඒව පාලනට උදව් කරන්නත් බෑ. So therefore emotion help other to understand you better. On the other hand, the other side of the coin is emotion allow you to understand others and will definitely help you to we will force you to help them when it is necessary. Yes, and finally, I will be showing the 8 ways to become more emotionally mature. Okay, because emotionally we have to be mature always. Otherwise, we have to be suffer with our relationship. It is not good. It is not good indeed. So therefore, I will show you. I will show some 6 ways to become how you should be emotionally mature. It is really needed. Okay. So let's discuss the last topic of today's lesson. It's like the theories of emotion. Basically, there are different theories of emotion. The major theories of emotion can be grouped into 3 main categories. First one is physiological theories, neurological theories, and cognitive theories. Okay. And when we discuss about these theories, like neurological theory, අපි කියනවා ස්නායු විද්‍යාත්මක න්‍යායන් කියලා. Physiological theory, we call them as කාය විද්‍යාත්මක න්‍යායන්. And cognitive theories mean ප්‍රජානනික න්‍යායන්. Okay. So basically, let's discuss like physiological theories suggest that responses within the body are responsible for the emotion. Responses within the body are responsible for the emotion. අපි ශාරීරික ඇතිවන වෙනස්කම් චිත්ත වේග වලට පව කියන්න ඕනේ කියලා. So it's questionable. It's really vague. Propose that activity within the brain lead to emotional response. ඒක හරි. අපේ මනසේ තියෙන දේවල් emotion කියන්නේ හැඟීම්නේ. හැඟීම්නේ හිතට දැනෙන දේවල් හිතට දැනෙන්න කලින් ඔළුවට මනසේ brain එකට යන්න ඕනේ. Brain, heart, hand. But according to physiological theory කියන්නේ අපේ චිත්ත වේග අපේ body responses වලට. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි behavior එකෙන් පෙන්වන දෙයට behavior පෙන්වන දේ බලපානවා කියලා behavior එකෙන් පෙන්වන දේවල් බලපානවා කියලා අපේ emotion වලට. It's questionable, but let's see. But neurological theories can be accepted because it proposes that activity within the brains, that cognition will lead for emotional responses. That means the brain. Cognitive theories argue that thoughts and other mental activities are essential in forming emotion. Okay, so neurological theories say brain is lead for emotional response. Please highlight it, brain. And the other one is cognitive theory suggests that thoughts and other mental activities are essential to forming emotion. So evolutionary theory of emotion, like Charles Darwin. So Charles Darwin, what he said, like he said, because of the evolution, these emotions we received as a result of this evolution. Okay. So further, he believed that these emotions are really necessary for the reproduction activities as well as their survival. Charles Darwin කියන්නේ අපේ පුද්ගලයෙක් විදිහට මිනිස්සු විදිහට සත්තු විදිහට අපේ ප්‍රජානනික කාර්යයන් වලට ප්‍රජනනයට හා පැවැත්මට මේ emotions කියන දේවල් අවශ්‍ය. දැන් අපි ආදරය කියන දේ because චිත්ත වේග විසින් ලිංගික සහකරුවාව සොයා ගැනීමට ප්‍රජනනයට මිනිස්සුන්ව මෙහෙවනවා. දැන් අපේ හිතේ ආදරය කියන දේ when we experience that emotion, that mean love කියන එක ඇති වුණාමනේ පුතේ, we try to find a fiancé or fiancée. So Charles Darwin said that emotions are required for reproduction activities and the survival of the human being and the animal. Write down evolutionary theory of emotion. Charles Darwin said emotions are the result of evolution. Moreover, he said for the survival and the reproduction of human being and animal, emotions are highly required. Example, he said, emotion lead us people to find their sexual partner within bracket fiancé or fiancée, close the bracket. Fiancé කියන්නේ කසාද බඳින්න පොරොන්දු වෙලා ඉන්න පුද්ගලයා. Okay, fiancé or fiancée, close the bracket. Chitta veg, that emotion help us to find the sexual partner. Full stop. Not only that, he said, emotion help us to respond Emotion help us to response. Emotion help us to response. The changes in the environment. The changes in the environment. Let's say when there is a when tiger comes to our side, then because of fear we try to run. අපි කියන්නේ පරිසරයේ තියෙන වෙනස්කමකට අපි උත්සාහ කරනවා අනුගත වෙන්න. So they said that emotion help us to adjust changes in the environment. Emotion help us to adjust changes in the environment. Emotion help us to adjust changes in the environment. And ultimately it lead for survival of the particular person. Survival of the particular person. Survival of the particular person. Okay, then let's look at the James Lang theory of emotion. So this James Lang theory of emotion, it nicely explains that now first we required an incident, then after the physical changes happen, then after we try to interpret the situation, and finally the emotion is created. So James Lang said, like according to his theory, he said that there should be an incident first. Then incident lead us for physical changes, like sometimes shivering. Then after we try to interpret our emotion, like we try to interpret that we have already feared. Okay, we experience fear. So I'm shivering. Then after the particular emotion is, we try to finally interpret its fear. Okay, write down James Lang theory of emotion. Put arrows and write down. Incident, arrow, physical changes, arrow, interpretation, then put an arrow, then interpret the emotion, then finally we try to clearly say what is emotion. Finally we say clearly what is emotion. Okay, I will tell. So example, take another different color pen and write down. Incident is theft. Thief, let's say thief enter your house. It's an incident. Thief entered into your house. Write down the example under the boxes. Thief entered into your house. Then their physical change is shivering or sweating. Sweating sweating or shivering. That is the physical changes. Then the interpretation is you try to interpret your emotion. I experience fear. Then you try to interpret your emotion. I experience fear. Then after your emotion, then finally you try to conclude your emotion. Then what is your emotion? Fear. එතනදී කියන්නේ සිද්ධිය සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ඒ සිද්ධියත් එක්කම කාය ශරීරයේ වෙනසක් ඇති වෙනවා. ඒ වෙනස මත පදනම් වෙලා ඔගොල්ලෝ අර්ථකථනය කරනවා මොකද්ද මම දැන් අත්දකින චිත්ත වේගය කියලා. Then after conclude කරනවා this is the final emotion, it's fear. So Cannon-Bard theory of emotion. So Cannon-Bard, what he said like this physical change as well as the emotion is after when the incident occur. The physical change and the emotion happens simultaneously. It's Cannon-Bard theory of emotion. So Cannon-Bard said, I'm not going to read one by one, Putte, but Cannon-Bard said what he said, that when the incident happened, then the physical Physical change as well as the emotion happens together. So not in a consequence manner, not in a hierarchical manner, but he said that both happens together. Write down. According to Canon Bard, when incident happen, incident happen, physical change, physiological change physiological change and the cognitive expression of the emotion, that means the interpreting the emotion. Once the incident has occurred, the physical change and the interpretation of the emotion happens together. Not after one by one. Not after one by one. Scatter-Singer theory, actually, it's for self-study, Pute. Study it, it's a self-study. Scatter-Singer's theory, it's self-study. And cognitive appraisal theory also self-study for you. Okay, so study this Scatter-Singer theory as well as cognitive appraisal theory. So if you have anything to clarify, please ask me when I'm discussing with you exam focus question. Then facial feedback theory of emotion. So facial feedback theory of emotion, finally it says like, simply it says that emotion creates because of facial expression. Facial expression. So according to this facial feedback theory, it explained that චිත්ත වේග ඇතිවීමට මුහුණු ප්‍රකාශන හේතු වෙනවා කියලා. So facial expression is the considered antecedents of emotion. So it's really like we have to criticize that statement, because we know after the emotion the facial expression happens. But according to this theory, it says that facial expression lead emotion. Write down the simple meaning. Facial expression leads emotion. Facial expression leads emotion. Further, this theory said that muscles in the face this theory explained the changes in the muscles of the face, the changes in the muscle of the face, lead for creating different emotions. Simply it said that facial changes directly affect for emotion. So it's really criticizing statement. So normally what we have realized is that facial expression happen as a result of emotion. But this facial feedback theory says that facial expression is really, it is the antecedents of emotion. Okay, that's all about this handout, Pute, this lesson, emotion. Let's visit the intended learning outcome. We try to explain what is meant by emotion. Basically, we discuss how the understanding of emotion help us in daily activities, the importance of emotion. We identify 3 components of emotion. They are cognitive, physiological, as well as behavioral, and then discuss the different types of emotion. According to Paul Ekman, we have identified 6 emotions. Then they are fear, disgust, happiness, surprise, anger, and sadness. Apart from that, we have discussed like 8 or 9 emotions. I have given you a brief introduction or explanation on each, and discuss the different theories on emotion, because I have given 2 theories for your self-study, I explained facial feedback theory, as well as I have discussed with you Cannon-Bard theory, as well as James Lang theory. So James Lang's theory and Cannon-Bard theory and facial feedback theory I explained to you, but I kept Sketcher-Singer theory as well as cognitive appraisal theory for your self-study. Okay, so I'll show you a small video as the last step of today's lesson. It's basically explain about 8 ways to become more emotionally mature. Actually showing this video not only for the entertainment purpose, but please try to write down when there are very important aspects. So the videos that I have shown before are really important for you. They are really important, so don't devalue it. So I believe that you have get the benefit from that video. Okay, so this is the last video which explain how to become more emotionally mature, and I believe that there is a message for your life as well, not only for the exam. There is a message for you how you can be emotionally mature in your day-to-day activity. So thank you very much for being with me during these 3 hours period. I done this recording as 3 parts for your convenience. I did not do it continuously. And each recording are equally important. Please watch them carefully. When there are important points, please write down them. It is really needed, my dear student. And I wish all the success, and I believe that this lesson is very clear for you. So if you have anything to clarify, don't worry. When we are discussing exam focus question, let's discuss in a very detailed manner.
Hey, Psych2Goers, thank you, love. Now, on to the video. Are you emotionally mature? There's a difference between being mature and being emotionally mature. You can have a receding hairline and be over 6 feet tall and still not be emotionally mature. So, what does it mean to be emotionally mature? When someone is emotionally mature, they can manage their feelings in nearly any situation. They possess empathy for others and often know how to de-escalate a conflict if necessary. They're the person you go to when you have a tough issue you need to talk about. Sounds great, right? Well, to help you get a grasp on your emotions, here are 8 ways to become more emotionally mature. Number 1, identify your emotions. How can we get a grasp on our emotions if we don't first know what we're feeling? It might seem silly that you must identify your emotions, but before you get into a heated fight or start breaking down into a sob, do you know what led you there? Maybe a simple irritation over a comment someone made found its way deep into your thoughts, and you carried that anger with you for the rest of the day. If you first recognize what you're feeling, then you can start to understand why and resolve it for yourself. Try leaving a tally in a journal every time you feel angry or irritated, and for every time you feel sad or empty. Then ask yourself why you felt that way. Being aware and understanding why you feel these things can help you manage your emotions. So if you know you're getting irritated at your brother for eating the last donut, your donut, take a breath and recognize that you're simply irritated at a donut before you say something you'll regret. That irritation could turn into anger for the rest of the day if you don't first identify why you were even angry in the first place. Now recognize your anger and acknowledge it. Remind yourself that your feelings are valid, but you don't have to act on them. Number 2, take responsibility. Have you ever denied something just because you didn't want to admit you were wrong? Sometimes reality can be hard to face, but it's more mature to take responsibility for our actions instead of brushing them away. If we simply ignore that we were wrong during an argument, or don't take action on things that are our responsibilities, we can never learn and grow from our mistakes. Being aware, holding yourself accountable, recognizing you were wrong, and learning from your mistakes shows that you're emotionally mature. Not only that, next time you're in the same situation, you won't make the same mistake twice. Number 3, find a role model. If you struggle with how quickly you react negatively in stressful situations, try looking towards someone you admire as a guide. What would they do? If someone you admire acts in an emotionally mature and positive way in tough situations, it's great to use them as a role model. Like Mother Teresa. What a role model. It's important to, of course, not lose track of who you are. You don't want to become your role model and lose yourself. You just want to learn how they handle situations so well. Maybe they have a great work ethic that you admire. And try it out. How do they handle negative feedback? Calm and smoothly. Worth a try. So next time you're in a tough situation, think, What would Mother Teresa do? Number 4, keep a thought diary. Do you suffer from negative thoughts? Are you constantly discouraging yourself? Do you point out your flaws every time you look in the mirror or complete a project? It's important to our mental health that we work towards having positive thoughts as opposed to negative ones. While we may think, oh, it's just one negative thought, no big deal, these negative comments we make to ourselves start to pile up. Soon, you're left with a harsh thinking pattern that will often take the lead when it comes to what you think. These thought processes are usually automatic and can become habitual. We don't want to think of ourselves or others in a negative light, but negativity can find a way inside of our mind. A good way to think positive is to practice cognitive reconstructing. This can be done by keeping a thought diary. Write down what you feel every day. What were some thoughts that raced through your mind? What did you stress about? Was it worth it? What are some alternative ways to look at the situation? Our worry can be valid. But when we open up our diary and see the same thoughts take up our day over and over, we may realize they weren't worth worrying about at all. When we recognize this, we can start to move on and come up with practical solutions on how to resolve our stress and negative thoughts. We can always counteract the negative thoughts by writing a positive one beside it as well. Number 5, learn to be open-minded. Emotionally mature people understand they don't have all the answers. That's why it's best to open our minds to other perspectives besides simply our own. We may have a strong opinion on certain subjects, but it doesn't hurt to actively listen to another's opposing opinion instead of thinking about ways we can persuade them that they're wrong. It's best not to judge someone or something right away. If we learn to be open-minded, even with the little things, we give ourselves the chance to try something new. We can enjoy different films or literature we might not have thought was our taste. Try a unique recipe, and most importantly, hear others out. We may learn something from listening to another's perspective, and we may realize we were wrong. We can still choose our opinions in the end, but this is after we've listened with an open mind to the other's beliefs or arguments. Even if we don't agree, we may understand them a little bit more, and that can be powerful. As our role model, Mother Teresa, has advised, if you judge people, you have no time to love them. Number 6, embrace reality. Do you often beat yourself up because of your circumstances and your flaws? Remember negative thoughts? Do they spend a lot of time dwelling on your reality instead of dwelling on your flaws or even suppressing them? Accept and embrace them. This is your life. Instead of ignoring your struggles, find a way to be at peace with them. If you can change it, work towards change. If you can't, embrace who you are, where you are, and work towards what will make you smile. Embracing this will not only give you clarity to move forward, but peace as well. Mother Teresa's 5 tips on peace. Peace begins with a smile. Number 7, pause and be patient. Have you ever been in a heated argument and said something you didn't mean and later regretted it? This is likely because we act on impulse when upset. If we take a moment to pause and reflect, we can then begin to say what we really mean. Simply expressing how we feel and why can turn a situation around by not only making the other person understand you, but yourself as well. Choose to pause in a stressful or confusing situation to give yourself the option to consciously choose how you want to react. It will only lead you on the path to emotional maturity. And number 8, live in the present. Dwelling on the past can cause us sadness and regret. Dwelling on the future, don't even get me started on how stressful. So, while we can learn from our past and make choices for our future, we need to learn to live in the present. If we're present and make conscious decisions, we're less likely to react negatively or fall into old habits. Being present is powerful. It's the only moment we can act, choose, experience, and enjoy if we allow ourselves to. We can't change the past, and we can't jump to the future. So why waste the precious time we have dwelling upon them? Life is happening now, as we speak, in front of you. And as Mother Teresa would say, yesterday is gone. Tomorrow has not yet come.
So yesterday is gone and tomorrow has not yet come. We have only today, let us begin. So actually emotions we have to control. We have to find a good role model as well as we have to manage it very appropriately, tactfully in order to have a very good, happy life with the other people. So thank you very much for being with me during 3 hours period. So have a nice day and God bless you, my dear student.